All right, please introduce yourself, state your name and DOC number for the record.
Henry Raziano, 488055.
All right, Henry, my name is Brendan Kelsey. Along with me is Ms. Jackson and Mr. Freeman will be your parole panel. We'll ask you some questions. You can respond. At the end, you can make a statement. We'll take a vote. You understand the process?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then we have Mr. Randy Meyer, who will speak at the appropriate time in opposition. We have, looks like you're, let's see, Cameron Pana, the attorney, and will respond. Oh, my bad. You gave me two. My bad. Just Randy Meyer. Thank you. Just Randy Meyer is going to speak. Henry Raziano DOC number 488055. You're a fourth class offender. Parole eligibility date 12/1/2022. Good time date 7/29/2024. Full term date 6/1/2030. You have a 15-year sentence. Attempted simple robbery, issuing worthless checks, 4 counts, issuing worthless checks, aggravated flight from an officer, issuing worthless checks, count 1, 3, 5, 6, issuing worthless checks, counts 2, 4, 7, 8. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, would you please answer Mr. Freeman's questions?
Sure.
Thank you, Raziano. How old are you currently?
54.
How old?
54, sir.
54? Okay. And how long have you served on this Senate?
Right at 7.5 years.
Okay, and what's your education level?
I just got my college associate's degree about 6 months ago.
Okay, you got that in prison. So how about your GED? You got that while you was in prison, or you got it on the outside?
I was a high school graduate when I was outside.
Okay. All right, Mr. Raziano, tell me what was going on in your life to be committing all of these crimes for profit? I mean, what was the deal? You had a drug problem? I mean, what led to all of this?
Yes, sir, I did have a drug problem. I had a bad drug problem. I was just lost. And that's why I was doing the things that I was doing. I regret them.
And what was your drug of choice?
Heroin.
How long had you been using heroin? How old were you when you started using heroin?
I would say I started back in 2000, right after 2005. And I guess about 2009, I was off of all drugs for about 5 or 6 years until I broke my leg. And then I was on pain pills, which ultimately caused me to start going back to heroin.
Okay. You ever received any treatment for your drug abuse?
I did go to treatment back in 2008 when I was part of drug court. And I was doing great. And not that it's an excuse to start using again, but it wasn't until I broke my leg and I got put on pain meds that it all started back.
So the second time when you stole the clothes, you ran from the officers? I mean, a high speed chase occurred?
It wasn't, I did run from him. It wasn't that it was a high speed chase, but I did run from him. And I remember that day clearly. It was, looking back on it, I know it was the wrong thing to do. And I'm actually surprised that I was even able to do something like that.
Okay, because I mean, according to the officer's report, y'all reached speeds up to 100 miles an hour. You ran 2 red lights, a stop sign, and so he quit chasing you because he was scared that some pedestrian might get hurt. So you say you didn't reach those kinds of speeds?
I guess technically you could call it that would be high speed. I didn't think it went that high, but I did run from him.
Supervision history, you had 6 months you served in federal prison. You've had a total of 6 supervisions with 1 revoked. Does that sound about right?
Yes, sir.
You have a criminal history dating back to 1993 with 21 arrests. Does that sound about right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you have law enforcement opposition from the sheriff and the chief. You have Margaret Raziano, who's unopposed. 2 of the victims responded. LaFar Piano, the owner, responded and said that you cost them about $900 in losses. They opposed. Tell me about this Lambert Plumbing. How much money did you take from them?
Lambert Plumbing is a job that I got. It was a friend of mine, his dad, that owned it. This was right after Hurricane Katrina. And his son, which was my friend, we were both doing drugs at the same time. And that went on for probably a little over a year. As far as the amount, honestly, I don't remember. You know, looking back on that, this man, Mr. Danny Lambert, is such an incredible person. For me to do something like that, even whether I was with his son or not, you know, it was just wrong, because this man would have given anything to help me. I spoke to him a couple of times after I got out of drug court, and everything was going good until things turned bad again for me with the drugs.
Okay, Mr. Lambert claimed that there was up to $30,000 in losses between cash and credit cards. Could that be about right?
Sir, I didn't think it was that much, but I guess it's a possibility. I don't know what the exact amount was.
I see you've had several trips to the hospital. You have any health problems?
Yes, sir. I have, I think it started back in 2017. I have lymphedema, and I have a circulation problem in my left leg, which I think I went a total 3 times to the hospital.
Looks like the classes you've taken are anger management, living in balance 1 and 2, thinking for a change, and $100 free release. What did you get out of those classes?
Actually, I learned a lot about myself in all of them, whether it was anger management, living in balance, learning how the things that I've done affect not only my family, but the victims. And basically have to learn how to do things a better way. I'm in Life in Focus as a continuance of my drug rehabilitation now. Thinking for a Change gives, you know, showed me the skills that I need as far as when I get out there, that I can't just go and do things without repercussions. You know, I need to think about these things and the repercussion it has on other people, whether, you know, which wrong is wrong, and I know I was wrong. You know, I apologize to all the people that I hurt.
Okay, you've had 1 write-up, but it was for contraband in 5/29/19. What was the contraband?
It was for a dirty drug test.
That before or after you took living in balance?
That was right after.
So you took the class and you still went back to use drugs?
Yes, sir. It was definitely a bad choice, a mistake. But it was actually, when that happened, I wound up in the cell block for 4 months, and it really made me think. I sat back, realized, the seriousness of this whole thing. Not only am I in prison, but now I'm in a cell block. I've lost my visitation. I lost my job, respect that I had around here. And I basically had to start over, but it also assured me that when I do get out, that I have to always have a continuance of some type of rehabilitation, whether it be AA, some type of group help for addiction.
That's good thinking, because you have to have a sobriety plan, there's no doubt.
Yes, sir.
You be successful, they need a sobriety plan. What is gonna be your transition plan?
As far as when I get out,
Yes, sir.
I plan on, the first thing I have to, like you said, I have to work, take my sobriety and do whatever I need to do to keep up with that. Whatever that takes, that's gonna be the most important thing, because if I don't have that, then I'm gonna fail at everything else. As far as job wise, I was in the limousine and bus business for over 20 years. I don't think that industries there are good for me anymore. So I was gonna go to truck driving school and drive trucks.
Okay. Who are you gonna live with?
I'm gonna live with my mom, Margaret Raziano.
So do you consider yourself a drug addict?
I'd like to consider myself as a recovering drug addict.
You realize it's always gonna be a problem?
I realize that I always have to stay on top of it and keep myself in a program. And yes, it could always be a potential problem, but I have to make sure that that doesn't happen and do everything I need to do to prevent it from happening, whether it's AA or any type of group meetings.
Okay, do you feel you need more drug treatment, like the Steve Hall program?
Sir, I can say it wouldn't hurt. It definitely wouldn't hurt.
Oh, questions I have.
All right, we'll hear, Warden, you have any input for us?
Yes, sir. Raziano and I spoke on last week in regards to his situation dealing with drugs, and I highly, consider him that can really need continued drug treatment.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, we're here for Mr. Randy Meyer.
Good morning, Randy Meyer, Assistant DA Jefferson Parish. I've got some real concerns for Mr. Raziano. A couple of the answers that he gave really causes concern with me about his drug problem. He said he did have a drug problem and he's got a potential problem in the future. I think it's pretty clear that he does have a problem and that he does need a program like the Steve Hall program before he is released. I think if he is granted parole today without going through such a program, he'll be right back with us. And that's something we don't want to see. We don't want to see him back. And I think his actions have shown that. In 2018, he did Thinking for a Change, Living in Balance, Anger Management. 2019, he gets a write-up because of a failed drug test. I also would request that if the board does decide to grant him today or to grant him after completion of the Steve Hall program, which is what I think should be done, I would ask that restitution be ordered to be paid to the victims. Thank you.
All right, Henry, would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
Yes, sir. I know I battled drugs for years, and Mr. Myers, he's right. I can't say he's wrong. I mean, this completely falls on me. Drugs are a horrible thing, and it's destroyed my life. It's destroyed other people's lives. I've hurt a lot of people. But I feel since I've been in here over the last 7.5 years, I've learned a lot. I've had a job since the second day I've been here. I went through college. And I agree. It's the drugs, it's not that it's gonna be a potential problem. I don't want that to happen. The program is something I definitely know that I'm gonna have to have for the rest of my life. Drug addiction is a horrible thing, and I acknowledge that. And as far as any type of treatment, it can only help. It can only help continue my sobriety.
All right, thank you. Panel prepared to vote? Mr. Freeman?
Mr. Raziano, there's no doubt you have a very serious drug problem. And, being a fourth offender, fifth offender, I think especially if you get convicted in Jefferson, you're probably looking at 30, 35 years, which would deserve at that point.
Yes.
So I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna be willing to give you a chance, grant conditionally based on completing the Steve Hoyle program. And upon for release from that program, you'd have 3 AA meetings a week with weekly drug screens random by the probation office. And we're not going to be very lenient if you bust one of those drug screens, I promise.
Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Jackson?
Hi, Mr. Raziano, I had some notes on your case and, my comments and my notes were that I would wait until the interview to just get a sense of who you are. I think you do have insight into what the real problems are. I think you have a commitment to work on those problems. So my vote today would be granted upon completion of a long-term DOC substance abuse treatment program and upon release with the same conditions as Mr. Freeman.
All right, you have 2 votes to grant your parole. Also going to vote to grant your parole to the long-term substance abuse program, Steve Hoyle program. After successful completion of that program, you'll follow up with the recommendations that they have for you there. You'll attend NAA 3 times a week. You'll have random drug screenings weekly. You have a curfew from 10 p. 6A, unless you're working or you have something going on. And I'd like you to do 4 hours a month of community service. So give back to the community, talk to people that are in your situation, see if you can help somebody else, not go down your path. But 3 votes to grant. You understand the stipulations?
Yes, sir, I do. Thank you.
3 votes to grant your parole after successful completion of Steve Hoyle, your parole thing. Good luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
And we'll adjourn at 9:57 at Allen. Thank you, Warden.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
All right, so let's unpack that. Maybe some of you might guess where I'm going to go with this, or at least to start. And that is that just before this hearing, I know you're going to be watching this in any random order, but what happened is right before this hearing, we had a cockroach hearing. And maybe I'll put the link to it in the description below. And part of my commentary at the end, or my unpacking at the end, was about how the victims were there alone making the statement. There was no mention of police opposition. There was no mention of the DA opposition, and Mr. Meyer didn't attend, and I brought that up. And then in the hearing immediately after it, probably just 5 minutes, here he is taking the time to speak about someone who wrote a bunch of bad checks. And I don't get that part. I get he did more than write a bunch of bad checks. He stole a lot of money from a lot of people, and it's a bad thing. And this wasn't no one-off thing. He has a track record going back to 1993 with 21 arrests. So I tried finding information of him on the internet. One thing came up with a LinkedIn profile that he ran like an olive oil company, but it wasn't like an up-to-date LinkedIn profile. It was more like one of those profiles where I think like LinkedIn's artificial intelligence creates. Anyways, now that I got that off my chest, maybe it's because, I don't know why. Is it a political thing? I really don't know why the DA shows up for some and not others. If anyone has an idea, let me know. I don't feel like a lot of hate for people who steal, or at least not the same, right? And I think that it's not, you can't compare it to someone who hurts a child or someone who takes a life or someone who violates physically another human being. But it is a terrible thing in society that creates mistrust that affects people forever. I'm sure anyone or many of us have a story or stories about being cheated or lied to or scammed. I can tell you I have many, sadly. I have one with a former business partner. I have one with the former people who I thought were like brothers to me. So, but it's just, of course, I think it goes without saying. It's just nothing. It doesn't compare to other crimes. And here he is with a 15-year sentence. He served 7.5 years of it. I like the end result. I mean, this guy is clearly still an addict. He got busted while in prison. I mean, it's more than, right? He's an addict and he steals to feed his addiction and probably other things. And he's probably was good at it because, but man, do you think that really, yeah, I'm happy with the result. To go through a program, whole complete it. And then, the once a week drug test, that's great. I don't think I've seen that given very often. But if that's not going to keep you sober, then nothing will, right? Just that hanging over your head. And then, yeah, I guess that's really it on the commentary. And then I know the DA wanted him to pay restitution, but I don't think we've seen that. If the judge at court won't order restitution, and there's not like a civil case, like why would a parole board order it? I don't think that's like, it's interesting to me that the DA, maybe we have seen a case, but it was a small, very manageable amount of restitution. I'm not sure. Do any of you remember? But I mean, you would just cripple this guy financially. And then how do you get into the legally? How is that even a thing? Like the board is going to say pay whatever is claimed, like without going through a legal process. It's just interesting that the DA would request it. Again, it goes back to, who are these people that he stole from and what influence do they have? And are they is it a favor for the DA to say, oh, I went there and I said they should pay it. And see, it's on YouTube. I don't know. Again, not fair for me to say. I'm just wondering. But that's it. With that, I will let you go. Oh yeah, please do like and subscribe. It really helps the algo.